What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? Good morning and welcome back to my live streaming on Facebook. My name is Jimmy Cheng. I'm a professional photographer, filmmaker, and an Olympus ambassador. So if you're new here, this live stream is all about photography, filmmaking, of course, Michael Four Third, and yes, Olympus, of course. Yes. Good morning, Roman. Good morning. Excellent stuff. And first of all, yes, Roman, and thank you for your email. And that looks very, very interesting indeed. Okay, so if you're new here, you don't know what this, how I normally conduct my live stream is that I will follow some kind of structure. I have some sort of topic to discuss every day between Monday to Friday. Of course, I don't do 7 days a week, otherwise I'll be dead. And so no, good morning, Brad. And excellent, so see some familiar faces straight away, and that's also always good. Of course, it's Monday today. Looks like the sun's not going away anytime soon. Summertime is definitely here. And in the UK, if you've been hearing the news or following us closely, you would know that we kind of can go out a little bit more now. We can see, at least in England, we can see up to 6 people at a time. So, well, I don't know what that means. And even though that rule may have existed, but yeah, we're still not gonna go out anytime soon, unfortunately. But anyway, so let me know what you guys did over the weekend. Good morning, Sam. And so yes, exactly. This is how live stream works. So I could see people's comment popping up on my comment box here. So I'll be answering things as and when it comes along. So there's no really strict structure here. Let's call it a conversation with friends. Yeah. So we're all friends here. Let's do that. Oh yeah, Roman, you have a bank holiday, isn't it? You have a bank holiday Monday. So yeah, enjoy your day. Let me know what you're gonna do. Are you gonna take your camera out and do something fantastic? Hopefully you do. And you know, where I live at the moment, I can't really do too much. Or all I can do is basically going around my neighborhood, and which actually have a beautiful lake. And you might have seen some of my pictures that I've taken with my kind of like local wildlife. So I actually quite relieved to be able to take my camera out with my 40-150 and the MC14, because I can get close to a lot of the animals from distance. So with that combination there, and I can easily spend a couple of hours out just photographing something, even though that technically I'm not a wildlife photographer. I'm just not very good at what you know, with animals in general, and I'm more of a people guy. So, but overall, you know, I enjoyed the experience because I haven't really been shooting using my camera for ages, and so it's always a relief to be able to use my camera, hold my camera with the lens, you know, just do something with my hands, because otherwise my brain would just gonna go rusty and kind of frozen and won't be able to do anything at all. Good morning, Ralph. Wow, good afternoon, Barana. And practice some panning and send one to Rock Trek live stream, and he said it looks too bad. All right, okay, excellent. Right, so enough, a little bit of a chit chat here, and let's talk a little bit about my topics today, right? And I'm not entirely sure how closely you are following Olympus news, especially you know, in Four Third Rumors. They always have the latest kind of Michael Four Third, well, not just Michael Four Third, but overall like all the latest gossips within the industry, camera industry, that is, whether it's going to be Michael Four Third, APS-C, or you know, full frame and medium form and so forth. But of course, Four Third Rumors, as the name suggests, is always about, like, you know, concentrating on Michael Four Third and Four Third kind of forums. And then it's actually a very interesting website if you are ever feeling a little bit geeky, feeling a little bit curious about what may come in the future. That is kind of like a rumor site that I usually go to, just you know, have a browse. So it's actually a fun thing to do, even though that I'm an Olympus ambassador. And it's always cool to, you know, see what people are speculating, right? You know, I always kind of like that. But anyway, so the latest post is about Olympus Financial Results, the latest 2020 as the end of March results. So I do have a couple of screenshots that I took from the website, and also subsequently I did some other background digging, you know, into other areas. You know, I've never really worried about what other people say about Olympus, even though recently you might have learned about that their South Korean imaging business is closing down, and well, that is what is said on the website, that is what is said on the net, so I suppose that it is not rumor, it will be a fact. However, they are keeping their servicing departments there, so they will be able to continue to warrant all the cameras and all the after sale service, and also all the other warranties or repair issues and things like that for the next few years. So never say never. if they have the repair or the back-end service set up, and still they're operating, that means that they could potentially just go back and reopen again. It's at the end of the day just a business, right? And so I wouldn't really discount anything at this moment in time, but because of all the political pressures, as how it was reported, and all the other things, combinations like decreasing sales and the boycotting issue about Japanese products in general in Korea, that really kind of pushes the Olympus to make the decisions. However, this may be one of the negatives coming out from it, but I can say that all the other camera manufacturers in South Korea aren't actually immune to it. They're all facing the same thing. Whether they are actually prepared to make a loss in that country or not is entirely up to them, of course. But if you are a company, you are predicting that the next few years is not going to be a profitable operation, then you may want to think otherwise. So, of course, I'm not a management, and I'm not in Olympus management. I'm not kind of represent them in any way, so I can't really speak on behalf of them saying the decision is right or wrong. But of course, in my book, if my business is making a loss, of course, I will have to think about some strategy in terms of how I'm going to continue trading without losing too much money. Okay, and, but overall, if you look at what Olympus Rumor has posted, and this is actually, of course, because Olympus is a publicly trading company, any information that I'm showing you now is completely public and you can download on the internet. And what I'm about to say is, of course, completely personal. It's nothing to do with Olympus, even though that yes, I am an Olympus ambassador, but I'm only representing the image department and also their imaging products such as cameras and lenses, and also other functionalities like videos and stuff like that. So in terms of financial stuff, this is only my personal take on it. And if you remember, I actually did talk about Olympus, I think over a year ago now. I made a video about the truth of Olympus. That video really received well, and if you haven't seen it, I will put the link after this stream here, and you can go to check out that video that I made over a year ago, and I talked about Olympus in general, and why I believe Olympus is such a great company, and also why they are doing what they are doing now. But let's have a brief chat about what the results is, and what I'm still consider that Olympus is not going away anytime soon. Despite what other people are thinking at the moment. Once again, because of the South Korean news, it is causing another stir around the internet again, like whether Olympus or Michael Thor III is, gone or dead, and I can tell you now, nope, this isn't the case. So let me see, this is 2019, let's see, this is the 2020, this is exactly just fresh from the oven on the Olympus Rumor site. So this is the latest financial results, and you can see that the 2020 results is actually a lot better than 2019, and that is already taking into account the COVID-19 adjustment. If you let's check it, I'm just kind of zoom in a little bit so you can actually see a little bit better here. And so you can see, well, obviously I'm not a business analysis, but I'm just purely just looking at the year on year and also the figures in terms of minus or plus. You can actually see that the operating profit, well, in this case, is loss, has reduced by 2.1 billion yen. And this is all down to a lot of the restructuring that they did in 2018 and also subsequently in 2019, and it's finally showing the effect that the cost saving is really working. So it's actually very good for the imaging department. Having said that, though, people are always looking, because of course if you follow rumors, they are only caring about the imaging business. But as I time and time again talk about Olympus, I always said that Olympus is not just about the cameras, not just about the lenses that we buy and try. They are a multi-discipline, multi-billion empire in Japan. And their main business is not camera. I keep telling everybody, and I'm not entirely sure why they keep really kind of think that Olympus is the camera, and unfortunately that really isn't the case. And so I'm just going to show you the percentage of the imaging business within the entire Olympus corporate. So this is exactly what it looks like. So you can see that over half of it is the endoscope business, which is on the medical side, and another 27% of it is therapeutic, is also medical. So overall, over 79% of the business turnover and profit is coming out from the medical field. and this is huge, and this is, Olympus is not a small business. If you're just looking at those figures from the imaging business alone, and that only accounted for 6.1% of the entire business, and of course they have the scientific solution, which is 13%. So overall, the imaging is really tiny by comparison, and this is exactly why I wouldn't worry too much, because Olympus has a passion in photography. It has been always the case since 1936, since the very first camera that they introduced into the market, and ever since they got stuck to it. They are passionate about it, and also they use the imaging department as an R&D to research and develop the optics, the lenses for the endoscope and therapeutic businesses. So it's amazing how they do that, and also all these medical equipments, they now shifting to Ultra HD scanning and things like that. So like everything that we see and use these days on the cameras are actually filtered down to the medical equipment side of it. So it's a very interesting business model that they have. But as a consumer, we really never ever going to be experiencing, or at least buying any of those medical equipment, because they cost a lot of money, way more than the top of the range EM1X or the forthcoming 150 to 400 3.5 Pro lens. And these are considered consumer level products, even though the M1X is aiming for the professional. But this is not really what they are making the money from. They are only using it to satisfy their passion in a way, because they are in love with photographies, and this is why I always think that things that they produce, you can feel the passion within the product itself. Because I do like using it, not only just the ergonomic, but you can see the color science there, you can see the lenses, how it performs and everything like that. This is why I'm passionate about something when I feel the passion from the company. There are other companies that I'm not trying to diss other company, like Canon, Nikon, whatever, all the other people out there. They're all great companies there, but like I said, I've been with Canon and Leica for multiple years, and the problem is with some of those companies, the bigger they get, the more corporate they became, and then they lost their personal touch, they lost that passion. Doesn't matter how much they say about they're passionate about photography and filmmaking and things like that. Somehow you don't feel the passion in the products, and you kind of feel that they're making it just to satisfy the business model in so to speak. You can kind of feel like for instance, Canon is a really good example. Even though now they're trying to get back on track in some ways, but if you look at the original 5D Mark II and the 5D Mark IV. 5D Mark II was the revolutionary DSLR, that started the whole cinematic filming industry using, just a consumer level cameras. And, otherwise you have to invest tens of thousands for cinematic cameras, video cameras. That was totally different things altogether. But like that really kickstarted a lot of the younger and smaller production companies adopt cinematic filming using just, the Canon 5D series. But then when it comes to the Mark IV, and you can kind of see that things are shifting, like because of the success that 5D Mark II gained in the video market, they're pushing the C line, which is the C100, C200, C300 later in, and so forth. And that kind of, they thought, okay, we are in the market now. Let's make something the video, like purely video, and then the 5D, which is the original hybrid camera. Yeah, they completely ignore that market, and they kill it. They killed it themselves. They shoot the foot by themselves. Yeah, the Mark III and Mark IV was not saying that they're horrible cameras, but they don't possess the same features and functionalities like the Mark II did, or in terms of versatilities and other things. Like the 4K, if you want to shoot 4K in the Mark IV, it's significantly cropped, and then the file, the code data compression was horrible. It takes up so much space. It's just not made for hybrid photographers, and then so they killed that market by themselves. They invented it and they killed it, which is totally nonsense, right? And so this is kind of what I feel, that these companies becoming so big, they invented so many products there, and they don't want to cannibalize each one another within the company envelopes. But on the other hand, Olympus is very streamlined. They haven't gone to that route by introducing something that is pure this and pure that. Similarly, Panasonic did the same thing, and they have more video centric cameras, and they have more photography centric cameras, and they went down that route, but while Olympus didn't really go that far. I mean, they're trying to do everything. Although at the moment, I can still see that the cameras are still very much photography centric, but they are slowly getting into the video game, and hopefully that they will improve, because I can see the potentials in the Olympus system, especially the image stabilization, the colors, and the autofocus is definitely on par with some of the best out there now in terms of video terms. So there are a lot of potential there for Olympus to get there on top in terms of video market. If they want to, it will happen. So that is very interesting. And I want another chart that I want to show you is that just look at this chart here. It's really interesting. All right, I'm not entirely sure how many of you can actually see this. Let me just maybe just blow it up a little bit bigger for you guys. Right, let me just put it in the center. Right, okay, now you can see this is the product development in 2019 is belonging to one of the brochures there, for the internal meetings, and then it's also downloadable from the internet, by the way. So like you can actually see they put EM1X there as their interchangeable lens camera, but look at the wording. Actually talks about the thing they consider as the product development. Right, listen, it's not autofocus, it's not the AI focus, it's actually about power consumption. So like, if you can see each of the products there has something to say, but instead of talking about the AI focus and all the other really cool features that we photographers and filmmakers love about the EM1X, they didn't mention it because internally, this is what Olympus, wanted for the camera to develop, is the power consumption. And because like I said, it's a multi-discipline company. Yeah, so each product that they have has some sort of purpose within the envelope. They develop something for the overall good, and so this power consumption apparently is the main focus on the EM1X, according to this. So like, even though that we rave about the AI tracking, we rave about the hybrid focus and all the other, the 7.5 stop, the ruggedness and things like that I totally adore, none of that actually mentioned in this is about power consumption. But it's good because they're looking into eco side of it, the eco-friendly side of it, and subsequently, obviously that technology will be filtered down to other products, and the medical. That means everything else will consume a lot less power. When it's consuming less power, it means less heat is being generated. So that means you can do a lot more things, like let's say high resolution, high this and high that. So this is exactly why I think Olympus is an interesting company, and they obviously have different agenda. It's not something that we can kind of understand. It's high level stuff that they are looking into certain aspect of the products. And then if EM1X is such a pinnacle camera for I would say the Olympus professional arena, then they should have really talk about a lot of the features and stuff like that. But they didn't. The primary reasons for them to develop that is to looking into the power consumptions of the camera itself. That is interesting. Okay, so what do you guys think? And I want to show you another screenshot here. Let's see, I've got some visitors here. Right, okay, there you go. Let's see. Right, okay. Right, this is once again another brochures that I want to show you, and exactly what I showed you earlier, but just with a little bit more pictures here, and of course that including all the products that within each of the disciplines there. Of course they have the endoscope, their therapeutic, the scientific solutions, the imaging divisions, and all the other stuff there. And you can see the relative percentage of each of those disciplines there, and you can see what the equipment looks like. The endoscope, of course, and the therapeutics is all really something that you will see in the hospital. Many people, unless you really go into operating rooms, and you probably would not see any of this equipment at all. But I remember last time when I went for a scan, I did see Olympus stuff there, which is actually kind of cool. And they're like, hey man, I'm actually one of these Olympus ambassadors there. But of course, I'm not from the medical field, and but anyway, I had a chat with the doctor there, so it's actually kind of fun. And but anyway, so this is it. This is kind of like the Olympus news. But what I think that, and also during the COVID-19 lockdown, Olympus has adopted a new approach and reaching out to customers, and they, like I mentioned, they are a very personal company. They really like to get in touch with their customers. They want to feel that they're part of the family. So they once you buy the product, they don't want to kind of distance you away. They don't want to like a hard salesman there, trying to get you to buy the next product and so forth. They're not that type of people. Well, at least in the UK anyway. So if you go to the Olympus UK Facebook page, you can actually see they're running free courses, and I mean free. Yeah, you can actually tune in. They have a session every day to do different things. So you can ask the experts, you can ask the technical people there. They show you, they're demonstrating all kinds of stuff you can achieve with the camera. Each on every one of the features there is amazing. Yeah, like not many people are willing to do that. And then they are offering free support, free technical help, and then the online demonstration. You can even book free one-to-one session with any of the technical gurus there. This is actually kind of cool, right? And I've never feel that Canada would actually do anything like that. I think they're just starting to now. I think they're taking hints from Olympus and other companies, but Olympus really starting out since the lockdown, and then they're really getting into the social, really trying to help all the customers who got stuck at home, and then they really want trying to encourage them to do something with the cameras. Why not? If they buy the cameras and make use of it, and it's actually a very good way to keep the family together, so to speak. And I do feel it as well, and I do feel the love from them. Yeah, that's very good. Excellent stuff. And let's see what you guys have talked about here. And Roman, you said the fourth rumor posted again patterns about full frame lenses. I wonder how it will go. Well, I never say never, and I wouldn't say anything, wouldn't discount anything, because like I said, rumor is rumor. It could be true, it could be false. So it's really, really hard to tell. But as far as I know, that Olympus is committed to Micro Four Thirds, and they are not going to change or do anything else apart from Micro Four Thirds. In terms of full frame lenses in development, that may be for other purposes. Like I mentioned, they have other fields that they're using there, either medicals or therapeutic, scientific solution especially. You may not know what that is. And the scientific solutions are actually almost like the same endoscope kind of thing, which is like a really long optical tube that are used to scan manufacturing equipment, whether it's going to be engine, whether it's going to be the jet engines on a plane and things like that. They sometimes when they want to check whether there's a blockage in any of the fuel pipes, they will have to put this scanner in through the entire stretch of the fuel line and to find out where the problem is. And this is exactly what scientific solution is. They do things in a more industrial scale. So that the endoscope and therapeutic, they are more on the human side, of course, and then but the scientific solutions is actually doing the same thing, but for industrial stuff. So they're more robust, they're more heavy duty, they are stronger, so because you have to poke through, a jet engine, for instance, and then making sure that, it will not break in the middle of the pipe, and otherwise, you're going to run into big trouble. So that's something that they do. So I don't know. Maybe sure they maybe have found something. Like I said, because they're a public company, and also these days a lot of people are really keen on looking into, for instance, any of the patent office in different countries to see what companies has filed whatever something. Like Apple's, a lot of people has been really tracking down what Apple has recently applied for patents and things like that, making sure they can guess, what the next product is and so forth. But in many cases, it will not come true because they're interested in patenting it because they just want to secure an idea. This will happen these days, right? Okay, and Roman also said they can make cameras and just for fun and love the photo and not profit. Well, this is kind of exactly what Olympus is doing. Well, of course, profit is always good. If who doesn't like profit as a company, right? You have to make sure that you have to make some sort of money, even if you make a loss, try not to make too much loss. As I said, the imaging division has always been kind of like an R&D for them. But the passion of photography from Olympus is definitely witnessed and is felt by everybody who use the products, and that is something I really truly enjoyed. Yeah, I mean, they are a photography company. Even now they're moving into video, which I'm really passionate about too. So. Ralph also, bottom line is a business decision. Indeed, yes. I'm presuming you are talking about the Korean stuff. Yes, it is a business decision. Anything that they do is, of course, is a business decision. And unfortunately, whatever they have to do and cancel in the futures, are always subject to, of course, financial results, financial predictions, and also the business analysis there to make sure the decision that they make is viable or not. And if even something they may have already decided to do, things could change, right? Such as product launches, product delays, and all the other things that we are experiencing this year in 2020. These sort of unexpected circumstances, yeah, like the COVID-19, definitely a difficult thing to swallow. And I'm pretty certain that a lot of the companies out there, not just camera industries, but overall, are adjusting through this difficult time, and whether they're going to pace it out, whether they're going to lengthen and delay some sort of product launches, that remain to be seen. Because of course, like Olympus, for instance, this year is supposed to be Japanese Olympic Games. It's a big thing for them because they're supposed to showcase a lot of stuff, but that didn't happen. So there may not be a point for them to launch some of the stuff there. So I'm just guessing some of the launch date may have to be pushed back a little bit because of that particular reason. So you never really know what's going to happen, and hopefully sooner the better. Hopefully things will get back to normal as far as I'm aware. I just want to see. Not just Olympus, but everybody else back to normal. Especially me. I need my businesses back, right? Okay, and let's see what Burana said. And Burana's imaging division is to develop image quality best for medical purposes, so the physician can analyze and make the best decision for patients and scientific purposes. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. And then all the lenses are actually the byproduct, is from what I can tell. And that shows how good they are. And like I mentioned, the micro four thirds lenses are actually superior compared to full frame lenses. And that is a true fact, because I have tried to adapt some of the full frame lenses. I'm talking about expensive Leica lenses. Yeah, as soon as I plug it into the micro four thirds sensor, it will show all kinds of optical flaws, such as lack of sharpness, lack of contrast, lack of micro contrast, for instance. On a full frame, you really can't tell, because it's not magnified. Because the micro four thirds sensor essentially is a crop, so anything that you see that is being kind of double up 2 times straight away, everything. So like some of the lenses that I spent 3-4 grand for Leica cameras, which I still have the lenses, and then when I adapted to the Olympus cameras, and I immediately see how soft they were compared to my proper 4/3 lenses, and because these lenses, these optics are designed for that sensor size, and it shows Olympus optics are superior, quite superior actually, and compared to some of the bigger and better or more known manufacturers out there. So which is actually quite amazing, right? And let's see what Brad's saying here. Enjoy Olympus light painting session on Saturday. Now I have to buy. That's a problem, right? But I don't think you need to buy more equipment. You can try to make do with a lot of stuff. If you, I don't know if you got kids, Brad. I just use my kids these torches and things that you can do all kinds of weird things with them, or you can just use a flash gun. And you can try to improvise with a lot of stuff as well. You can get one of those some of these plastic wrapping paper, from Quality Street, this colored one, and then the transparent wrapping paper, wrap around certain flashes, and you can do all kinds of different colored painting. It's all improvisation at the end of the day, and it can be done relatively cheaply. And okay, let's see. Roman, do I buy stuff or do I try to do some yourself? Oh, you mean Brad? You're talking to Brad, I think. This is for the. I think you can do half and half, and depends what sort of thing you have or you may not have. Maybe some sort of thing you definitely need for certain type of things. And I try to make myself a lot of stuff if I can, obviously to save money. And then, like I suggested, in terms of lighting and things like that, yeah, you may need a good key light. That's if for videos, like I suggested to Ralph and other people. Now, I think one key light is definitely good. At least it can lit you up as a face and everything like that. If you're doing videoing, live streaming, you need some sort of lighting solutions there. But like things like that you need. But like other things, like other background light, you can maybe make do with actually a flash with color gels on it. And when I say color gel, you don't even have to buy them. You just have to make up something, right? That's all doable. Uh, okay, let's see what other things. Oh, there you go. They can skip some product and come up with completely new stuff. No, I don't think they will skip things. If because like I mentioned in my previous stream there, a lot of the stuff that they developed or already developed and started manufacturing, that already happened about 2 years ago. And so it's too late to skip it because otherwise you're going to waste completely the entire 2 years of work there. And so if like I mentioned, a lot of manufacturers, not just Olympus specific, like a lot of the imaging companies there, they do try to hear what consumers say and what other people commenting about their products, but it's not something that can just react like instantly or spontaneously because they have to feed that through to the system, to the engineers, and they can develop some sort of solutions. It's easier said than done. So by the time it reaches to that level, it would take them to develop a solution for the next generation product. If they can fix it through firmware, they would, but then if they can't, then they will have to wait until the next generation of products. And in that case, you won't see your ideas or your comments about that particular products maybe 2 to 3 years time. So that is a long time, but it happens to every single cameras out there. It happens to everybody like Canon, Nikon, Fuji, and everybody else. It's the same thing. And the only thing is a company can do is somehow trying to predict what they can do with let's say the technology development in sensors, in sensor developments, in processor developments, especially digital these days. A lot of things are based on the sensor sensor developments and the technology behind it. How fast can a processor process imaging data, for instance, because it does affect a lot of stuff. Like I mentioned in the EM1 X and the EM1 Mark III, for instance, what the EM1 Mark III can do with a single digit 9 processor compared to dual digit 8, sorry, not digit 8, sorry, TruePic 8 on the EM1 X camera. So like 1 against 2, and that's how good a newer generation processor can do for a camera. Even though that the sensor is kind of more or less the same thing, but it shows the capabilities of just the digital processor alone can affect a camera performance. So you can kind of predict a lot of things, like the next generation, for instance, the next EM1X, if they do feature a dual a TruePic 9 processor, how powerful can that be? That could become fourfold the performance of what the current EM1X can do. That means it can do all kinds of silly stuff, speed-wise, tracking-wise, and anything. So because once the processing power has quadrupled, and it's hard to imagine what they can implement. But likewise, you can't just expect that some of these newer features can be implemented in older cameras like the EM1 Mark II or the Pen Air for EM1 Mark I, for instance. It can't, because those are TruePic 7, TruePic 6 processors. They are much older, they're much slower. So even though theoretically it can be implemented, but it will not be fast enough to see the effect. And in that case, there is no point of implementing it because the firmware just cannot be run smoothly in those processors. And as much as Olympus want to do it, it simply cannot physically do it. And I really feel for some people, especially I know digital cameras, not like the film cameras era, that we so accustomed to, especially my age group of people. And we used to have a film camera, we can use it for 10, 15 years until it breaks, basically, until it breaks, and you say, oh, I need a new camera. These days, it doesn't really happen because newer cameras does give you better speed, better accuracy, better features, for instance. Doesn't say that the older one is incapable, but just if you are professional, if you want to do things more accurately, more faster, more reliable, then and also because you use it so much, in every 2 to 3 years you will have to upgrade or replace your product for that particular reasons. But it's for those people who invest a lot of money on, let's say, on the EM1 Mark II, for instance, it's a great camera. It's still a great camera because of all the features, especially out the firmware 3.1. It's just amazing. But if you think about oh, can I get that feature from from the EM1 Mark III? No, you cannot, because the processor has reached its limit. You can't do live ND. You just haven't got enough processing power. You can't do these enhanced face detection because the AF the AF data that's been gathered by the sensor cannot be processed quickly enough with that particular processor. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's a lot of things going on there. Is unfortunately, I don't think that Olympus can make something work with an older processor. You know, you just try to run something that like 4K video edit from a Pentium back in '95, that wouldn't happen, right? It just would not happen, even though there is an application that can run in Windows 95, but the processing power, the graphics card, just simply cannot handle a 4K stream. Simple as that. Yeah, even though the program may run, but anything you're trying to process in it, it just simply would not work. And let's see what other thing is that Brad is trying to say here. And I was joking, definitely make do with the toucher recycling bin. That's an idea, recycling bin. And okay, let's see what Brianna said here. So South Korea market share could not compete with Samsung. Yes and no, yeah. I mean, and having said that, though, you know, Samsung was one of the key areas that they introduced for medical side back in 2017. That's something that I read from the financial report, actually. So apparently that market is growing. So because medical is slightly different, you know, is something that they need if they don't have it. I mean, if they want something the best, because well, apparently Olympus is producing some of the best endoscopes in the world. So if they want the best, you know, they will have to get it. It's medical, so it's very different to consumer stuff. And so it's something very different. And of course, I don't want to touch base on it because I'm not an expert on it. I don't want to talk about just to mislead people. Something I'm trying not to do. And also, let's see, and right, put 2 new chips in the upcoming Pen F. Right, still Pen F2 is not a solid development, you know, it's still a rumor. I know that is an interesting prospect. Who doesn't really want a Pen F2? You know, I personally want a Pen F2, but look at the size of the body. You know, to allow 2 processor in the camera, you need a lot of space, especially the heat is generated from the processor itself. The EM1X can do it because it has a much bigger body there. It has a heat sink behind the sensor, and it has a lot of construction stuff that you probably can't see and feel, you know, just from the outside of the camera. But the EM1X is so reliable because it has so much the stuff that you don't normally expect a camera to have. It's fanless, for instance. You know, this EM1X here, and unlike some of the video cameras in the mirrorless market, you know, whether it's going to be Panasonic or other companies there, they have heat fans and heat sinks together to cool down the system, especially for videos. The Olympus doesn't have any of that, but the EM1X does have a heat sink to help heat dissipations from the sensors, from the heat generated from the sensor. So it's actually kind of interesting. Even though I have never experienced overheating from any of the Olympus cameras before, whether it's got the EM1 Mark II, which I use like kind of like grind it to the dust. You know, I put it out there in like bright sunny day like this. I shoot all day long. I put it there, film like continuously for however long I need it to be. It would never ever overheat. Even though the body may be hot enough to burn my fingers, but somehow it doesn't overheat. You continue to function, continue to film. You know, it's something kind of exciting to see. You know, like a fanless camera will be able to perform to that sort of level. And then the EM1X is just amazing as well. You know, like if EM1 Mark II can do that sort of thing, imagine EM1X and the EM1 Mark III. That's just something that to be reckoned with. You know, the achievement that they do about heat management in the camera, especially in digital terms. Because I know Sony just overheats all the time, and then that's one thing that I never really used Sony. I have tried Sony. I have a couple of Sony cameras, but really they do overheat. You know, which is kind of driving me nuts, and to be honest. And then let's see what Brad. Oh, Brad, I don't know why your thumbnail is always so big. Okay, I reckon a doubling of processing speed will not equate to a doubling performance for the users. For each step better in AI or tracking, I imagine may take 2 or 3 times of the power. Just a guess. Right. It doesn't. Depends how you utilize those 2 processors. Like for instance, on the EM1X, and then one TruePic 8 processor is dedicated on AF alone. And you know, because the EM1 Mark III is different because the processor is so powerful it can handle that sort of data stream. But in the dual processor instance, you know, you can make it faster, because once you kind of like do some task allocations there, so one processor do one thing, the other processor will deal with other things. It's a very common thing to do these days, especially with multiple processor in the systems, and these with dual core, 4 core, 8 cores, and on the computer, for instance, and they have like for Mac, for instance, they have A2 chips and who dedicate encoding, decoding kind of thing. So it can happen with multiple processors, and the EM1X, for instance, the one chip was completely dedicated on AI tracking and all the other facial tracking stuff like that. That's why it's so accurate, because one dedicated performance just for that. But of course, with the evolutions of the processor improvements, the EM1 Mark III TruePic 9 processor can handle all of that with one single processor. So in terms of speed, when it comes to the future EM1X Mark II, if it does employ 2 TruePic 9 processor, you can see that performance quadruple, because the AF, the amount of data that can process and calculate, it will be how many times it be over the TruePic 8 just on the tracking alone. And that means that it can process a lot more data frame by frame. You can do all kinds of things there. It will be amazing. I can't calculate in my head. I don't know how much quicker it can be, but all I can see that is TruePic 9 is significantly like faster and better than TruePic 8 processor. I'm actually waiting to see what is going to happen in the EM1X Mark II, because that will, if I'm already feeling the EM1X is super speed. Imagine this the EM1X2 that's having 2 TruePic 9 processors. That will be like kind of unbelievable. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm guessing. And also for Guitar SE is student edition. Eh? What are you talking about, Roman? Make it a little bit bigger. Pen too small for men's hands. I have a lady's hands here, so pen is perfectly fine for me. I do like the size of it. I have it here, and because it does look, I like it. It's just look at that. Okay, I get it. My pinky does kind of left out at the bottom here, but I'm okay with that. The ergonomics is actually, it's a typical rangefinder style. If people are just not used to it, you can add a grip to it. You can buy one of these additional grip to make it just slightly extended at the bottom, and also have a more chunkier grip on the side, so you can rest your finger here. But overall, I kind of like it. I just kind of like the original look, like the original Pen F film cameras back in the 1960s, and I like that. Mark, and good morning. I need a camera that will speed up my brain. Who doesn't? I need that too. Maybe like, because Olympus is a medical company, and maybe they can come up with something to implement the TruePic 9 processor in my brain. Yeah, so in human brain, maybe that will help us process a lot of data and stuff. Maybe we can do all kinds of calculation in a split second, make a superhuman being. How's that sound? That might be quite cool, right? And so tracking is not that much depending on the sensor. It's more the processor. No, well, it is and it isn't, and the sensor, of course, depending is the sensitivities of it. That's for sure. What do you call it? The hybrid AF is all sensor based. The sensitivity is all sensor based. How much photodiode, how much light it can absorb in every pixel is sensor based. So it helps. Everything has to work in tandem. Everything has to work in parallel. But the processor helps in terms of actually processing those data, like how much data it can perform per milliseconds, for instance, and the more it can process, the more the speedier you feel as a photographer. The tracking of, for instance, how many times you're actually trying to calculate, trying to predict your next move and things like that, and it's a lot going on there. So you can imagine like a faster processor will give a lot of rooms for it to improve in terms of tracking performances. So this is why the process, so the digital camera these days is so different compared to the film era. Especially mirrorless is kind of very, very different, because in DSLR, for instance, is totally different technology altogether. It has a dedicated AF sensor, which is totally different to on sensor AF systems in the mirrorless cameras, for instance. DSLR is different, totally different, because it is the sensor doesn't have much apart from apart from the latest Canon. Well, ever since Canon developed this dual pixel AFs from the sensor, that used on the DSLR technologies, they kind of shifted away a little bit. But in traditional DSLR form, and the AF outperform using a dedicated AF chips, so it's very, very different there. But you heard that right. It has a dedicated AF system there. It's totally separate from the actual processor itself. That's why traditionally DSLR has better tracking performance, because they have a dedicated AF unit there. And but nowadays, mirrorless cameras, of course, you can see from the likes of the EM1 Mark III, EM1X, and Sony, and all the others in 2019, 2020, the mirrorless AF has significantly improved, and now it's matching, if not surpassing, the performance from the traditional DSLR AF systems, and which is actually quite an achievement on its own. And I can tell in the next few years, as the processor speed increases, like the next 2 or 3 generations, you can see that the mirrorless will definitely surpass in terms of tracking capabilities over the DSLR, and also that is one of the reasons that why a lot of the people who are talking about photography predicting that DSLR is reaching the end of life. And I wouldn't say like it will happen in a sudden death, so to speak, but you can see that maybe after the next generation's DSLR from Nikon and Canon, that may be the end of, especially from the professional market, like the 1D line, or the Nikon D whatever now, D6 coming up, and but D7 could be the last of the full-fledged professional DSLR, because there's so much you can push in terms of mechanical designs, and now everything moving digital, which is a lot faster, a lot more powerful. So digital mirrorless cameras is definitely the way forward in many cases, and I think it will be way more superior compared to what the DSLR can achieve over the last 2 decades. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen, and Olympus is well placed for it because they have started the mirrorless market. So that's I'm looking forward to see and witness. Can't wait to see that. Excellent stuff. And let's see one last comment here. And speeding up the brain does not work that easily. I thought studying physics will help the brain physics. Well, maybe you've got that chip in your brain. You can actually study physics with ease. I'm always better in chemistry, but very bad at physics. And I don't know why, just how my brain works. But anyway, interesting, right? Interesting study, interesting thing that we learn about Olympus a little bit today, and also general development about things. I think it's actually pretty cool, right? Excellent stuff. So thank you again for joining me, and it's overrun a little bit. It's 11:48 in the UK, and thank you for joining me. And tomorrow, of course, we're going to be back here again talking about another subject, and on Wednesday I'm going to have another live stream on my YouTube channel, Red35 Photography. It's going to be different, very different. I will see what happened then. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to talk about yet. I haven't figured out, and then we shall see. But I hope you guys can join me, and I'm very thank you for once again coming up to my live and joining me here. It's just always good to wake up with a bunch of friends, nice friends here, to talk about cameras and and also Olympus and stuff like that. Just makes my day, right? Thank you guys, and I am happy to see you all, and I will see you again tomorrow. Let me know what you guys want to talk about. And by the way, I would like to see some pictures to discuss. Maybe I'm gonna start talking about maybe giving some sort of assignments, and then let's see whether we can do something together, and also maybe a competition. You heard that right? I keep saying that, and then I haven't really finalized the details yet, but there will be a competitions. I'm trying to sort out a global competitions, and then that will be quite cool, right? So I'm hoping all of you guys will be able to participate. But I will let you guys know in due course, because I would like to finalize a lot of the details. There'll be different categories, so it's not restricted to just one big open competition. It's going to be different categories. It's going to be like landscape, there's going to be people, portraits, sports, wildlife, anything. So so there will be rooms for everybody. So I hope you guys will enjoy something fun. You know, it's competition is always fun. You know, try not to be too serious about it. You know, just enjoy the process, produce some cool work, and then using your cameras, and yeah, that would be awesome, right? And hopefully, when this is all finished, we can all come out and have beer. Right, excellent stuff with lots of prizes. I hope so. I'm trying to work hard with the prizes, right? Excellent stuff. Okay. Oh, Ralph, by the way, and you remember you asked me about the caps and stuff like that, and I have spoken to Olympus, and there may be a way to ship overseas. So stay tuned for that. I'm waiting for them to confirm me back. So if they do, that means you can just buy straight from their stores and they will be able to ship it to you. Of course, you know, anybody who wants it in the US, they can also do that same thing as well. They just order through the website, and but don't quote me on that at the moment. I think they're still trying to work out the logistic and how that will work. But they are cool, right? I do love the hats. I do love the merchandise and the pins, and also the flasks. I like the heat flask, you know, the water thing. It's actually pretty cool because they all have the logos there. Really nice. Anyway, so I'll see you guys tomorrow, and have a brilliant day. Today, I think I'm feeling quite relaxed. I might take my remote control car out with my kids. Yes, this is another one of my passions, is remote control cars. I like these buggies, and also the rock crawler stuff. And I love these sort of building things and running it. And with the kids, it's almost like taking a dog out for a stroll. Excellent stuff. Okay, guys, I'll see you guys soon, and you all have a good day. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.